If you can see me okay, you can hear me all right, put it into the chat and let me know. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining from. Hey, Hungry Foodie, how you doing? We've got Dennis, who just joined us as a market explorer. So welcome, Dennis. Now, if you're on the session and you can see me, you can hear me, put it into the chat, let me know. And if you're new to the session, do drop a message and say hi, let me know where you're joining us from. Everything looks good, yeah. Then also, I'm guessing you sold pound last night or early this morning because it is dropping. Nice, very nice. 135.80. Where was that? That was this morning then. No, last night, just after the news. It, we were looking at it here. We were looking at it here on a pound dollar. You know, we're either looking for that bounce or that break. It broke the low, so it did well. Back to that one. Okay. But yeah, on Fridays, I want to try and use a different format and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to try a different layout on Fridays, and then we'll keep this layout for every Friday. Obviously, the last time we did this session, I think last Friday or a couple of Fridays, I've been unwell, away, or busy, and all that kind of stuff. So the last time we did this was on the 29th. A lot of the lines and all that was too late and over already. So refresh those lines later on. Okay, so yes, this session, Friday sessions, are publicly available to everyone on YouTube, on our Discord channel, on wherever you are joining us from. So if you're new to the session, like I said, put into the chat, let me know where you're joining us from. Remember to click that like and subscribe button if you haven't already, because it is a public session. It does help massively if you do click that like and subscribe, and keep the chat flowing. Somehow I think the algorithm would get this out to more people, and that's how you can help me out massively by doing that. If you want a daily live stream, then the daily live streams are available to Elite members, Elite Navigator members. Click that join button right beside my name there, and then you can join, and you get your daily live streams every day at 3 p.m. GMT plus 8. All right. So I hope you've all been doing fantastic. Now, what we do on this Friday's session is a little bit different to what, well, same but different. Review, we look at what has happened through the week. Right? On the daily session, we look at what has happened for yesterday. So we look at what has happened through the week, which is a lot this time around. And then we look into what's in the horizon for next week. And then after that, we look at some possible trade setups on the H4 time frame, right? On the H4 time frame. How do I get rid of this? Okay. So first things first, what has happened through the week? A whole bunch of stuff, right? There, this is that. Now, if you look at it, Monday was a little bit dull, a little bit quiet. Tuesday was getting started, ramping up a little bit with the Canadian CPI being released pretty much as expected. Where the surprises started coming out on Tuesday was the retail sales numbers being released for the US. It was a 0.5, expected to slow down slightly to a 0.2. It got released at a 0.6. In the scheme of things, a bit of surprise, but didn't do that much to the market. All right. Um, you can see on Tuesday is right. I'll zoom in a little bit. On Tuesday is right there, right? So it did push the dollar down despite it being a good retail sales number. Because what do we have? On Wednesday, we had the UK CPI number being released. But on Wednesday night, especially if you did join me on Wednesday night, we had our live trading session with the BOC, the Bank of Canada, with their rates decision, cutting rates down from a 2.75 to a 2.5%, 25 basis point rate cut from the BOC. Oh, the pound dollar is looking so good right now. I do have a trade running. I do have a pound dollar trade running to the downside. So I'm going to be watching that a bit closely as well. Same like Hungry Foodie, right? So the CAD, I don't know whether I still have it. The CAD, we were looking at it before for it to push up, right, during the news. Push up during, this is after that. To push up during the news, and it did push up to the. Sorry, I'm well in the money on the pound dollar. I'm not even bothered. If it does bounce, unless it bounces a lot, then disturb me. But I'm well in the money in that. I'm even actually on stop loss on break even, so I don't really just gonna let it run and see what it does. What was I gonna say? Yeah. So Bank of Canada cut rates down from 2.75 to 2.5%. We saw the US cap push to the upside, some weakness on the Canadian dollar leading that push together with the surprising dollar strength. So that kind of played out for us on Wednesday, where we had the CAD rate cut from 2.75 to 2.5. How many times can I say that? And then at 2 a.m., we had the US cutting rates from a 4.5 to a 4.25%, a 25 basis point rate cut. Hungry Foodie was expecting no rate cuts from the FOMC. Didn't happen. I was hoping, with a little glimmer of hope and optimism, that the Fed Reserve would do a 50 basis point rate cut. That didn't happen again, as well. Um, and during this news event, during the press conference, Chair Powell actually came out and said, we'll cut rates by 25 basis points. The idea of a 50 basis point rate cut was not even on the table. And there might be another two more rate cuts to come before the end of the year. What would have seemed, and I didn't trade this event. After the stream at 9 to 10 o'clock, I was dead tired. So I totally missed out on this event, um, which was fortunate because with a rate cut of 25 basis points and a signal from Chair Powell that there will be two more rate cuts on the horizon before the end of the year, I would have expected massive dollar weakness to come. However, the opposite happened. Right. This was the news release on Wednesday night or Thursday morning, Wednesday night. It pushed up, up, up. So it just bounced off this support level and pushed to the upside. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, if you look at the US 10-year Treasury, Treasury yield has been pushing to the upside. One reason. Second, other reason is also, where is it? I've lost it. The indexes have been pushing to the upside following the news as well. US 30, 100, 500, all to the upside, right? So it's been those optimism. Cut? A rate cut, diverting funds into the equity markets pushing it up, looking for it to push to the upside, and that's what we saw on the dollar pushing up. That's why I said it's quite fortunate. I was absolutely unable to do this session, so didn't get into any bad trades on that news. We then after that on Thursday, it feels like a long time ago Thursday, but it was only just yesterday. We had the GDP for the Kiwi dollar. I got into that, not that news there, but following that, um, with a GDP to the down, well, GDP release of minus 0.9%, massive downside, which we saw the Kiwi pushing to the downside. So I'll show you that. We talked about this on yesterday, right? So I got into that right after our session, right? I think about there. I had that one there, that trade to the downside. Um, went down. I closed off this morning at that point there, right? At, no, no, not morning, afternoon, morning. So right at that point, not a huge trade, but just something I just saw it, went down, closed off, and I'm done. Right, so that was my Kiwi dollar trade, my pound dollar trade from where is it? Mine's 13. Hang on a second. My pound dollar trade was to the downside. I actually did a very not advisable thing, but I got in before the news. I got in just before the news. Just took a bit of a punt to see whether it's going to reject that level. So I'm well in. That was not my trade. I thought of that, but then after that, I was looking for that position. That was just at the 7 o'clock, just 6:55 kind of level. I looked at that on the. I had 35 thereabouts, and then I had all the way down. I had all the way down, but as it was pushing down, obviously as it was pushing down, I got greedy. I went all the way down to there. I moved that to break even, and then once I moved it down to there, this afternoon, as I saw it pushing to the downside, I again went further down. Where is it? I actually put it down to that point there. Just going to see how much it's going to drop by. But the level that I'm watching is there. If it doesn't break this level properly, which is a 1.35 level, if it doesn't break that, I'll probably close it out. But I do think that there's further downside to come. So that's why, like Hungry Foodie is saying, if the if anything happens on the pound dollar, I'm not bothered. It has a lot to climb before it would hit my break even level, but it has some downside that I'm looking forward to. Okay, so that one's done, and well, I jumped ahead, right? That was the pound number, pound interest rate decision. It kept rates on hold. I did not expect that um, bit of descent. You probably sensed it, especially for the members, if you were watching on yesterday's session. I was sitting there and go replay that as well, right? I was sitting there during our session and I was thinking like, could there be a descent? Could there be a one member deciding when I think it'll be a 1-8, a 0-1-8. I was like, something, it just felt like one member was going to say maybe we should go for another rate cut. So it did come out at 0.27. I did not expect that. It was a surprise to me. But I entered before the news came out at 0.27, which encouraged that push to the downside, despite not changing, not adjusting interest rates or the bank rate and keeping it at 4%. Then, and this was when I thought it was not going to be it was going to be a non-event. That's why I didn't do a live session. Should have done a live session. Um, So I'm like, don't want to do a live session because we sit around waiting for nothing to happen. And then something happens, and we should do a live session. Next time I do a live session, probably not going to have, not much is going to happen again. So I'm torn. Let me know, put it into the chat. Let me know. Should we do more live sessions during the news or not? A lot of times I like doing live sessions, but I like not doing live sessions as well because it just lets me trade on my own rather than to have to keep rambling on. Okay, so let me know what you think about that. And then this morning, unfortunately, the BOJ did not hike rates. So it's going to be left to the last quarter of the year for them to make a decision to hike rates further. This time around, didn't hike rates, no big surprises there. I thought an off chance they might go a little bit early, but the Japanese, they're probably going to be a little bit more calculated, going to wait a little bit longer, be a bit more safer, and also because Ishida, Prime Minister Ishida resigning, they're probably going to look for some stability as well. All that put together, we said it yesterday, not likely, as much as I was hoping for it, it's not likely that they would proceed with a rate hike scenario, more likely to leave it to the last quarter of the year. Does that make sense? In a snapshot, that's the review of what has happened through the last week, which had one, two, three, four central banks with their rates decision, leading to one, two central banks cutting rates and two central banks keeping it on hold. A lot of volatility through the week. It's going to get quite interesting from here on, especially onto next week. Let me know if that all makes sense to you. If it clicks, let me know. Okay. And while you're doing that, hello Magas, how are you doing? Good to see you on the session. And Christina, finally you're on in time. Good to have you. Good to see you on the session. Welcome, welcome. I hope it all makes sense to you. I hope it's good. All right. Now we've done we've done the history. We've done the history. We talked about what has happened. Let's look into what's coming up. What's coming up? Okay. So looking into next week on Monday. Not much. On Monday, not much at all. Right? Governor Bull speaking from the RBA. House of Reps not gonna, I don't think they're gonna do too much. On to Tuesday, we got PMI numbers, a whole bunch of PMI numbers. Firstly from the Eurozone, then from the UK, and then from the US. Um, for the longest time, I have said that PMI numbers don't play a very big. I mean, I when I first started trading, I was very keen on PMI numbers because when I first started trading, firstly, PMI numbers is the Purchasing Managers Index (PMI). It's a forecast. It's a projection. It's a leading indicator, leading economic indicator, because they survey purchasing managers and you get an idea of how the market is doing into the future. So when I first started trading, it was during the GFC. Everything was terrible. Everything was bad. So the PMI numbers became very important to see how bad is it going to keep going or is it going to recover. Then, and it worked very well. Then, very recently, is the focus shift to interest rates and tariffs and trade and inflation. So the PMI took a little bit of less importance. Um, But now I think it's coming back. From the recent few times I've been looking at PMI numbers, it does seem to have some sort of an impact, a more consistent impact on the currencies. So we're going to look into that on Tuesday with the PMI numbers to come from the Eurozone, from the UK, and from the US. Following from that, we have CPI numbers on Wednesday for the Aussies, CPI year on year. And then a little bit late to the party on Thursday next week, we have the Swiss National Bank, SNB, one of uh, not my favorite central bank to follow, but they're going to be deciding on their interest rate policy. They are currently at zero. I don't think they get to negative, so I think they will stay at zero. Likely to be a bit of a non-event. Thursday night we have GDP for the US, and then on to Friday night we have the core PCE price index for the US. Core PCE price index again is an inflationary number, right? It's an inflationary growth number, which is important to decide on whether the Fed Reserve, they've cut rates by 25 basis points this time already, but inflationary numbers are going to be still going to be important, because now the focus is shifting to the 29th of October. We're on the 19th of September now. We're looking at the 29th of October, where the anticipation is that, and this is really early days, but there's a 91.9% chance that the Feds will cut rates by 25 basis points again. So they said two more times to come, right? Until the end of the year. So two more times is we got October and December. So these two meetings are going to be rate cut meetings. That sounds right. Yeah, it's going to be rate cut meetings. The only, well, not the only thing, but one of the major things that could um, derail this rate cut path is if the core PCE price index does not, or the inflationary growth numbers do not play ball. They come out with a surprise. If it spikes up too quickly or if it drops too quickly, any shock. It's not about whether in the direction of the shock, but any shock, my view, any shock to the inflationary number is going to cause the Fed to say, hey, let's see what happens, right? So I think if it holds steady, steadily dropping, steadily maybe growing a little bit, um, the Fed Reserve will continue on with their two rate cuts, October and December. Right, so next week is not likely to be as action packed as um, last week or this current week. But we do have a couple of things to look out for, especially core PC price index on Friday next week. We have the GDP for the US on Thursday, the Swiss National Bank on Thursday, the CPI for the Aussies on Wednesday, and the PMI numbers, or the bunch of PMI numbers for the US, Eurozone, and the UK on Tuesday. You get a little bit of a break on Monday. Okay? Again, review of last week, of the week past, done. Projection of the week ahead, done. In terms of news for now, we only have the Canadian retail sales numbers to be lodged, to be released, which I don't think, um, I don't anticipate a surprise. So it's going to be a weaker number, possibly a negative number, or likely a negative number, but a weaker number. So that's going to possibly cause um, further CAD weakness. Okay, make sense? Now, with all that said, I said a lot. I said a lot. With all that said, let's look at. I'm clearing out all this because I just realized I should be a bit more strategic with how I draw up the charts from here because it is on the H4 time frame, and we do this on a weekly basis. Okay, um, so that trend line is broken. We take that away. The thing here to note is that on the dollar index, this support level here at 9650 was tested on the 1st of July, and then it was tested on the 18th of September, and it's bounced. Now, if you look at the trend line, right, just taking the body of the trend line to the downside, so it started here, resisted, and go somewhere else. And it's looking like it's going to get resisted at this point again. I don't need this. I want this to go somewhere else. Yeah. Okay, so put it down there. Okay, so this is a good resistance level rather than support. So now if you look at this, and this is if you're trading on the H4 time frame, okay? If we took this all the way down, 20, 38, okay. Looking at that, that's broken. 38.2 is there. I don't actually need 50. One is going to be 50. Okay. So what we're seeing here on the dollar index H4 time frame is we have this resistance level. We have this resistance level, right? And we have this support level down here, which if you really want to draw an area, it's like that. Okay, so that's what we have here on the dollar index. Long-term downtrend is retraced back up to that 38.2. Um, it's hit a confluence. It's hit a confluence of resistance. Firstly, swing pivot levels at 9760. Secondly, bearish trend line holding it down. Thirdly, 38.2 fib retracement level holding it down. So it's this whole thing that has caused the dollar firstly to test and reject back down, to test and looks like it's rejecting back down. If you look at the TSRI MACD, it looks like it's trying to cross back down as well. So the thing here is that let me think about the news into next week. Okay, with the way the dollar has been going, it's likely any further upside will only be 9780 back up. Right, you need to break 9780, which is out of this area to the upside. What I think could happen here okay, what I'm thinking might happen here is there's a very small level there. Okay, that's gonna be good. Okay, it shows a bit of a rejection here. It might come down to 23 there. So I'm thinking that it could do that and then bounce back up and then that way. That's what I'm looking at. So there's two things here that we're looking for, which is today being the 19th of September, right? Is that the dollar index firstly is retracing from currently retracing from 9760, needs to stay above 9720 for further upside, break 9780 to retest 9860. Does that make sense? So it's retracing. It does need to stay above 9720, which is there. I think that area there would be good. Then it bounce. It just needs to break above 9780, which is this level here, to retest 9860. Obviously, in this case, is that if it breaks below 9720, then we could see a deeper retrace back down to support. Um, and if you think about it, don't know if that's quite likely. I don't know if that's quite likely. If it is, then we could see the dollar range between 9650 and 9760 for maybe quite a period. But we're gonna see. I think that's the more likely scenario to the upside. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so now a bit of a retrace, but looking for generally some upside to come to continue. What's my pound dollar doing? Okay, see that level's holding. Okay, so that makes sense. Then we look at the Kiwi dollar. Take all that away. Those are done. Those was a long time ago, so I'm not going to review that. Okay, those are all done. Support level is there. That still makes sense. Yes, resistance level is there. That still makes sense. Okay. Oh, it doesn't. I don't even need that. I'm pretty sure I don't need that. That's 61.8 now. Right. Pushing back up. I don't need that. What I want to actually see is now that it's broken back down. Kind of thinking about that level. We could see a bit of a retrace on the Kiwi. And bear in mind, this was something that we saw from yesterday, where where is it? There was an anticipation or talk for um, the RBNZ that RBNZ should cut rates by 50% by 50 basis points. It's somewhere we talked about yesterday. That RBNZ should cut rates by 50 basis points. That's also why I was so bearish on the Kiwi dollar. What we're possibly looking at here is maybe a bit of a bounce up. The highest I think would be 5925. before it push back down again. So now it's retracing, don't do anything, let it retrace. Then we look for that rejection, thinking around that point there. Right, we're looking for the rejection around that 50 level. That, and then a continuation back down. It might be retracing even less, but we'll look at that. And then we go 5910. Stop loss will be about 30. Take profit, you've got a good 100 to the downside. Test, reject, push back down. Okay, so for Kiwi dollar, because we're looking at that, we could be looking to sell at 0.5910, 3100. Okay, 0.5910, stop loss 30, take profit 100 to the downside. Then onto the Aussie again. What do you think there? After I looked at it, I was like, we need longer lines, bigger drawn lines. Okay, so that's, well, I'll first put that as a resistance level. It's retraced, which is actually quite interesting. 38.2. So it's just kind of found this level there. And then that's what we're going to be paying some attention to. Aussie dollar pushing back up. The thought about this is, hey Diana, how you doing? It's okay, you're still in holiday mood. You're still in holiday mood, you're just back from a trip, so it's all good. Better late than never, I always say. I'm looking at this. Like that. Right, so I'm kind of thinking about the Aussie because it has that drop, might be pushing back up. Yeah, I talked a lot today. I just went on and on and on and on, so we haven't gone through that much. 6620, 30 to 60. I think this could be something to look at, where you look at that testing and pushing back down that way. Right, so I kind of want to see that, but if that doesn't play out, right, if that doesn't play out, then the straightforward view would be just to go 6585, stop loss 30, take profit 60 to the downside. I think because we have the Kiwi dollar looking for that retrace and the breakdown, I would think that let's do it a little bit differently. It could retrace. I don't think we'll delete that. It could retrace and do that. Then you have that one trade up, then sell down, or it will sit across and then push down that way. There. I think maybe we'll take that one away. Look at that. Maybe retrace back up to there and then push back down. Like that. Direct, yes, for sure, we can do those. No worries. Remember again that we're on H4 time. It's Friday, so we're on H4 time frame. We'll go through the German 40, the DAX, the Aussie CAD, and the Swiss yen. No worries. Yeah, anyone else got a question, got request, put into the chat, let me know. So 6585 3275 is that one. So 0.6585, stop loss 30, take profit 75 to the downside, that's sitting across, kind of like that to push down. That makes sense. Then onto the pound dollar. We talked about this so much already. Swap this one's around. That's resistance. I don't know where I put that. Okay, that's a dotted line. Look there. Um, that trend line doesn't really bother me anymore. Support level is there. If you haven't got into this, if you didn't get into this already, then I guess the most straightforward thing to do, don't need that, take that away. Then the most straightforward thing to do would be, this is on H4 time frame as well, by the way. To wait for it to break this level at 1.35, which is a nice round number, which I hope it does because it's going to be doing well for me. Aussie will go for 6630. Wait, 6630. 66. Yeah, okay, that's where that level is. Good, I love it. Retest, push back. China will sell here. I will sell here. We come down to here. We all make money and happy days. Um, Pound dollar. I don't need that actually. Um, Round number level at 1.35. Short term retracement level at 61.8. It just needs to break that area. Trade to the downside. That's what I'm looking for. I want it to break 1.3480, 1.3475. Stop loss will be about 35. Take profit will be about 90 to the downside. Bollinger is going to bounce back up a little bit. That's fine. Easy. Easy. 1.35, 1.3474. 1.3480, we looked at it last week, or a couple of weeks ago. 1.3475, 30 to 90 on the downside. Okay. Then onto the euro, those take away. Those are all old numbers. As reject, yes, we've seen all that resistance levels. Don't need that or that. Update this to be the support level here. So again, and because we are thinking of the pound dollar to the downside, the euro dollar is also at that 61.8 level here at 1.1760. Right, so showing some possible downside. That move down to a 61.8. point 8, that all makes sense. That's at the 50%, right? That all makes sense. Um, just that it might be a little bit skinny. And just so now you see that trying to push back up already, right? So I'm just kind of thinking of that point to break below. Then you'd be thinking to go, okay, 1.1745 stop loss. One go a bit lower. I think it go a little bit lower than that to really get that full move. Diana just said 1.1748. I got 4.5, you got 4.8. Watch what level if it breaks and retest back. I would still, yeah. That's why I don't want it to be too near. I'm thinking 4.0. I'm thinking 30 pip stop loss. And then I think that we could see a drop further. No, I'll tell you what I want to see here. No, it's good, it's good. Just keep sharing your views as well. I want to know what your views are. I think what could happen here, if this level holds, okay, the easy one is you look for it to break, you go 1.1740, you have that 30 pip stop loss. You wouldn't do it here. That's too skinny. You've got that 80 pips to the downside or 75 pips to the downside. That's a straightforward um, thought, right? What I'm kind of thinking of here is that it comes back up. But this resistance don't make sense. This is why I like trading the way I trade. Just looking for all the different kind of things that you might not see. Right? I'm looking at this as 1.18. Good to have you back with us as well. Very good to have you back with us. I'm thinking 1.18. I'm kind of thinking that, so this is a straightforward thought, right? Break that area and come down. But I'll see that it's tested, it's testing, it seems to be holding. I'm kind of thinking that it could do that back down, which means that I'll move this to the side a little bit, right? So that's a straightforward thought. It could retrace, test that 1.18 level, and then push back down. So it'll look like 1.1790. You got a 30 pip stop loss and a 90 pip take profit. A safe 90 pip take profit to the downside. There you go. That's what I'm gonna see on the euro dollar. 1.1790. So it's going to retrace. Give it the time, let it retrace. We're going to sell at 1.790. We're going to have a stop loss of 30. We're going to have a take profit of 90 to the downside. That's what I'm thinking there on the euro. Then onto the yen. Had that in a range. It's all doing fine. and dandy sitting in there. What I'm seeing here is that it's a green candle pushing up, which is a little bit odd because that's red. That seems like it's trying to cross to the downside. So what we're possibly thinking here, or we should possibly be thinking here, is maybe that. No. What we're thinking here is that. And I don't think there's going to be that much to do on the yen. Um, because that's the decision point. It's going to retrace, it could push up, it could test and do all that. But at this point here, you have a best case of 80, you might even have a 50 something to the upside. I don't see this as something to get in, rush in now. I think the yen, um, it's to try and avoid those two dotted lines. It's better to look for a reaction at 149. I don't think it'll come to 146, but I think a reaction at 149 would be better. Why? Is because at 149 either it has a big rejection or a big breakout to the upside. So we say this on the end of August. Now we're going to be looking for reaction at 149 resistance level. So smaller shorter term trades would be something I forgot what I was going to say. Smaller short term trades will be during the daily analysis. Okay, that took a while. Don't worry about retracting your message. That's fine. Keep it there. Okay. Now looking at this, we don't need that one away. That one we'll keep in here. That one we don't need. That either. Okay. So the thing here is that the euro dollar might push up and then maybe push back down. The yen might have that push there, but then we want to see what happens at this point. So the euro yen actually does seem to have a bit of an upside, right? Does seem to have a bit of that upside potential, but the resistance is quite close. So I wouldn't suggest it's the same thing, right? And 175 is a big level that it doesn't like. So watch possible rejection at 175. I wouldn't sell it down. I wouldn't sell it down. Well, maybe I would as a possible counter trend. It's worth the risk on that. Um, yeah, it is quite worth the risk. You might be looking at 50, back down here it'd be 100. Then, you've got good potential to the downside there. So, euro yen, we're looking for rejection of 175 resistance. Then we'll sell at 174.90, stop loss 50, take profit 100 to the downside. and then it could be a lot more as well. So we're looking for that down, maybe sit across, and then maybe down again, depending on how the euro dollar does. Okay. On to the pound yen. Didn't trigger. Take that away. Take that away. We don't need that. We've got this, which is fair. Pound dollar. Pushing, pushing. I like it. It's gonna make my week if it just keeps dropping. Especially tonight. If it drops tonight, it's gonna make my week. Pound yen. Given that the pound dollar is still trying to break lower, you're looking at that 50 level that is trying to break. We've got 200 there that doesn't like. So you're looking at that. I think it's going to be choppy in that way. So you're going to look for 199. No. I think you're going to be safer. You've got to be safer on the pound yen. You're going to look at below 199. I know it's giving away a lot, but you need to see it below 199. You're going to have a stop loss of about 40 to 50. 40 would be good. And then your take profit will be down to that 100 to the downside. On condition that this one really drops and breaks this level and pushes down. So that's what we're looking for on the pound yen. 199, 40 to 100. Possible, but oh wait, 174. If it breaks 174.45, yes, possible to buy. Yes, possible to buy up. I feel like it's a bit too skinny. Maybe because I'm looking at it on it. This is on the H4 glasses are on. On H1, yeah, I'll buy it up. H4 glasses are on. But yeah, if you do it in H1 small time frame, yeah, I think it's reasonable to look to buy it back up. Right? H4 glasses. I could put H4 on it. 199, 40, 100. So 199. 40, 100. So 199. Yeah, H1 is good. 40, take profit 100 to the downside. Then onto Sweezy. 20 lines. I said I was going to rejig these lines. I did on H1, I didn't do it on this part here. Don't need that. You look at this, it's going to push up. It's quite close to that round number level here, 0.8. So I would, and then you got the trend line there. So if the dollar pushes up, then you'd be looking for it to break above 0.8 to push up. 8020, stop loss 40, take profit 100. Don't see it going up though. We've got Swiss news. Okay, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. 8020. I'm constantly reminding because like we do this on H1 time frame through the week, so I'm constantly reminding myself of the um around H4 time frame. Stop loss 4100. There we go. CAD. Remember CAD, we got a bit of an up, anticipating the upside on CAD with the retail sales number tonight as well. I know those levels are there. I don't need that as a thing. I don't need that. That's good support. Um, that's in the range. That's at 50 right there. That's at that area. So I think it's going to stay within the range. You look at 1.3840, you look for a stop loss of 40 to 50. You look for a take profit of 80 to the upside. Maybe 40. Now do 50, give a bit of space because that's a bit of a iffy weak area there. Okay, so that's what you're looking at. 1.3840. Where is it? Buy at 1.3840. Stop loss 40. Take profit 80 to the upside. And then we come to gold. Because here we can just take away all those lines because it doesn't make sense. We have an all-time high right up here. Well, actually we have an all-time high right up here at 3700. We've got a bit of a support down here. All right, and then it's stuck in this range. Now it doesn't make sense to do the whole fifth level up. We've got this point here. No, I think that one there. I don't see it coming down all the way though. I don't see it coming down all the way. I think that the straightforward thought here, because remember that dollar, if it pushes up, it's going to push or should be pushing gold to the downside. It's not showing that, but it should be coming down. So I'm actually kind of thinking that we're going to see that test and push up, or it sits across and then it pushes up and at that level there. It's a bit of a, seems like there's a bit of a move towards reserve, which then you're looking at 3670 up to either retrace down, or you're looking at 3670 up towards 3700. Bounce of support to 36. I don't see that much of a drop. I don't think we're going to see that. Could retrace to support at 3623. I think 3623. But long. think maybe like that. Because if it pushes back up, we're going to have to see a big drop on the dollar, which seems a little bit unlikely at the moment. Think about it that way instead. What if I'm not telling you to sell gold down. I think I'm looking for it to drop so that I can buy it back up, not looking to sell it down. 36.23. We want to see what happens there. Could retrace to support at 36.23. Look for possible bounce or break. I think this will be something that you don't want to do on a H4 time frame. Something that you want to do on a H1 time frame, because it's either going to come back down here, and I hate saying this, absolutely hate saying this, is that it's either going to come down here and go lower, or it's going to break up and go up. It's like, yeah, of course, but that's why you got to wait and see. This is more on the I feel like it's a H1 kind of time frame kind of trade. All right, does that all make sense so far? Remember, again, if you're on the session, click that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. And if you want daily live streams, like a lot of our regulars here, then join as an elite navigator if you haven't already as well. So let's look at the Swiss yen. Take those away. Swiss yen broke up. Remembering again the Swiss franc, we're thinking maybe some upside. The yen, we're thinking maybe some upside. So on the Swiss yen, I wouldn't be surprised if we do see some upside, but and the Swiss yen goes into those massive runs in a range that way. This is like an all-time high. I think we might see a bit of a retrace, right? Sorry, that's the resistance. That for now. That's a bit of a dotted line there. If you look at this whole thing up, oh wait, okay, kind of thinking that's a level there. So I'm kind of thinking that it could retrace, because if the Swiss climbs up, we're going to see some weakness, some relative weakness on the Swiss franc, which would mean this comes back down, and the yen is going to hold it up a little bit. So I think it could come back into that 185 level, and then it bounces back up that way. All right, so 185. Two things to look out for, obviously, is firstly, we know that points there, so it coincides quite nicely, is it needs to break. This is the first decision point. It's got a channel, the bottom of the channel, it's got a 23.6 level there. It needs to break this level, then we could see further downside, down to the round number, and then bounce. And that's what I'll look out for. Maybe drop even further. I don't see that. There's a strong likelihood That 50 is quite a weak level there. That 61 is not stronger either. It could be there. So it comes down into this area and bounce. Then in that case, you'd be looking at 185. Your stop loss would be wide at 70. Your take profit could be a massive 174. You're looking at 185.16. Yes, I think that makes sense. I think I don't like a 70 pip stop loss. I think that's ridiculous. I think 185.20 and then 50 to 160 and maybe even more. Right? Retrace down, test and bounce off that 185, back up 185.20, 50 to 160. I think that's the setup there to look out for. I think it kind of aligns with what you're looking at, so I'm quite happy. Aussie CAD. Okay, long time ago since I looked at it. Very long ago since I looked at it. Could do away with all the lines. It's so long. It's that long ago. Alright, that's a good resistance. That we put as a good support. That's the 61.8. That's the 38.2. Take that and that away. Aussie CAD. Aussie looking to push down. CAD weakness to push down. Oh no, CAD weakness to push it back up. Aussie, we're looking for that. That all makes sense. Oh, wait, wait. I think if this Aussie pushed up, maybe what we could see is down to that point, like that. So it's in this area. It's in this round number level area and this area here that it just needs to decide what it wants to do. Aussie break down or push it down. Cat sitting there. Could bounce it. So I think it's going to be choppy, but what I'm thinking is I'm actually more tended towards that downside. 90.90 stop loss. Hey, Infotainment Hub, how are you doing? 30 to 60 to the downside. Or if it breaks up, then you have 91, 50, 35. I want it a little bit further away, 35 to 70. That's kind of the levels that we're looking at. I kind of like that one better. I think it might do that and then push back down. So it'll be 90.90, no, 0.9090, 30 to 60 to the downside towards the support level. Okay. And lucky last, where is it? Oh, that one. We did well on that. We did well on that where we say it's going to push right down to that support. So that one's done. Take that away. And it was a long time ago as well. I think this is straightforward. It's shouting out at me. I think it's shouting right out at me here. that we should see it um, ideally test and reject back down. So the only risk is that it doesn't go up enough and it sits across and pushes down. 23,800 might be the level. But yeah, basically we either look for a test and a reject, or it sits across and then it pushes right down that way. Yeah, that would be my thought on all that. What do you think? What do you think? Edson, how you doing? Everyone, hi, hi, hi. In pound CAD. Pound CAD, pound CAD, pound CAD. Do I have pound CAD? Yes, I have pound CAD. You're doing very well. 1.8780. Uh, where's this like? Okay, far away. 1.87. Wait, 8780. Okay, it's right up there. Well, I'll take that one away. 87. Okay, there. So you sold there. Um, I'm running on the pound already. So yes, my favorite for that. But I'll definitely close it out today. I don't want to hold it over the weekend. So I'll definitely close out the pound today. Um, you're most welcome there, Diana. Have a super weekend too. 1.8780. Where might it go? It needs to break this level. I don't know why I have this number there. No, that number doesn't make sense. Go past that. Let's go there. Put those in. Yes, I don't know whether you realize it's all a repeated process for me. I just keep doing the same thing. Um, look at levels, look for it to break the level, look for it to react to a level. Straightforward. Or should be relatively straightforward. Edson, I would say wait. If you haven't, move your stop loss to break even. First thing, stop loss to break even or secure some profits. Right. So if you did that, um, I don't know where your take profit is. If you did that, stop loss to break even. I can't move it lower, but if not, then you should, at least move it down. I would move it down to that point there, just above that H4 candle. Secure that profit, which is a good 90 pip profit to the downside. Then you do that. Then you do that. Right, your stop loss is there on this point, and you wait to see if it's going to break this area. If it of 1.86, if it breaks 1.86, then it will go all the way down. If it doesn't break 1.86, then bounce back up and close out. Make sense? All right. So with that said, please trade well, trade safe, but more importantly, it is Friday, so have a fantastic weekend ahead. I will see you all on Monday next week on our daily live streams. And if those of you who are watching and you're not an Elite Navigator member already, click that join button. I think it's only like $9 a month or less or something like that. It's a token amount just to make sure that we get the serious people on as our members. Now, with all that said, please have a great weekend. I'll catch you all again. Take care now. Bye bye.